I scored a 524 on the MCAT. Let me show you how I answer questions.
Question 9. In the human quote-unquote knee-jerk reflex, the knee is struck and the lower leg jerks forward. Which of the following represents the complete pathway that nerve impulse travels in affecting this response? Okay, so this is first of all describing a reflex, a spinal cord reflex, which in general, spinal cord reflexes allow us to respond to some sort of stimulus without having to integrate the sensory information and make a conscious decision. So it's like a pre-programmed response, which evolutionarily is designed to protect us, right, and get us away from danger that occurs very acutely. So and there's different types of reflexes depending on the number of neurons involved, and these spinal cord reflexes are mediated by the spinal cord. And so with the knee-jerk reflex, this is something called a monosynaptic reflex, okay, because the transmission of information involves only one synapse, specifically between the sensory neuron that detects the initial stimulus, the danger, and then the motor neuron that initiates the response, right? And that synapse, the synapse between them, the connection between them is in the spinal cord. So what happens is that you have a stimulus, in this case, like hitting the patellar tendon with a hammer, right? Like when you're testing reflexes. That is picked up by a sensory neuron. And this sensory neuron, it's the axon or the receptor of the sensory neuron that actually picks up the stimulus. And that signal is transmitted through the neuron, ultimately to the spinal cord, where it synapses in the spinal cord with a motor neuron. Okay, motor neuron. And that motor neuron extends its axon from the spinal cord ultimately to a skeletal muscle like your quadriceps muscles, okay, skeletal muscle, and releases acetylcholine to cause them to contract, and as a result, your leg kicks out, right? And so this is so we just need to find the correct description of this, right? So if we look A, sensory neuron, motor neuron, that sounds correct, right? Because there is nothing else in between them. It's sensory to motor, and that's it, basically. Now, if we look at the other answer choices, B, sensory neuron, brain, motor neuron, no, right? Because even though the brain, of course, you realize that, this happened, this is not actually part of initiating the response, right? You become aware of it eventually, but the response would have already happened when you become aware of it. So the brain is not necessary for this knee-jerk reflex to occur. Now, C, sensory neuron, associative neuron, brain, no. Again, right? There's too many things in between, and the same thing is true for D. So A is the right answer.